This is a special edition of the Mike Gallagher Show, Coronavirus in America.
We're using the full power of the federal government to defeat the virus, and that's what we've been doing.
For a while, life is not going to be the way it used to be in the United States.
As we face this national emergency pandemic, now's the time for knowledge and clarity. And this is the place to get it.
We're going into a full crisis footing. This is a wartime dynamic. We have to think about helping each other in different ways.
The president made very decisive decisions quickly.
2020 is definitely going to be one for the history books. And as we take it all in, we know that we'll get through this together. We're America. And now, here's Mike.
We're about to chat with a very smart guy and a man who loves his country. He's a patriot. He's a philanthropist. I'm a big fan of Foster Freeze. We're gonna pick up a conversation that we had earlier with him in just a moment. I also want to kick things off by sort of setting the stage here. It's Monday, the first Monday in May. There are states like where I'm seated right now in Florida that are starting to crack the door open and be open. I felt like I went on a bootleg run this weekend as I drove north of Georgia, got a haircut from an old school barber shop. The barber had a mask and a shield on and gloves, and I had a mask on and gloves, and finally got the haircut because it was driving me crazy. And, you know, over the weekend, the president indicated that he believes that a vaccination will be ready to fight coronavirus by the end of the year. Now, of course, we can't wait 7 more months before this country opens up. And we are in the midst of this very delicate balance between opening the country safely and keeping people protected from coronavirus. But there has been an enormous pushback, the likes of which I don't think I've ever seen. This kind of goes back to almost the Tea Party movement, since I've seen Americans be truly appalled at the overreach by mayors, by governors. The mayor of Los Angeles, you'll recall, we played the clip a lot, said, "We will hunt you down if you are outside, and we don't want you to be outside." The mayor of Chicago, "We're not playing. We will arrest you if you are gathering." There's a video that has gone viral showing NYPD underclothes officers, one in particular, beating and hitting and slapping a guy who was videotaping an arrest that was being made for a social distance guideline violation. The couple in Honolulu, honeymooners, who were arrested when they left their hotel because they wouldn't abide by a 14-day quarantine. These kinds of actions are happening all over America, and the country's pushing back in a pretty profound way. There is goodness, though. And as you know, every May we do a big campaign where we try to raise funds to help the children of American prisoners, people who are incarcerated. As we've been home, with Netflix and the quarantine, and many people not sure what's next. The sons and daughters of American prisoners are in a particularly vulnerable category. These are at-risk youth, and I'm very proud to again announce our month of May Prison Fellowship Ministry campaign. For $200, you could support a child being sent, instead of summer camps this year, because that's up in the air, we're bringing the summer camp to the kids. And we're sending them a gift basket, a goodie box that contains $150 worth of groceries, some athletic equipment like a soccer ball or a football or a baseball, an age-appropriate Bible, some Bible study material. It's a really cool, beautiful gift. And the child won't know that it's through Prison Fellowship. The child will understand that it comes from his or her mom or dad. It's a great ministry. And thank you. We've sponsored about 22 kids so far. We got a big goal every year. I think we're never going to make it. Last year, through your generous donations, you sent 2,142 kids to summer camp. So it's my prayer that this year we will again see a big step up from the Mike Gallagher audience, the family of listeners who will donate that $200 to send a gift basket to a child who's home, maybe with a grandparent, maybe in a foster home situation. What a blessing this will be, and I'm praying that your heart will be touched and you'll give. It's a big ask. We're trying to get to 650 kids. We got 22 sponsored on our first day. We got a long way to go. Please go to mikeonline.com and click on the Prison Fellowship banner at the top of the page. And thank you for anything you can give to this wonderful ministry. Prison Fellowship, been around a long time, and I believe in them sincerely. I also believe in Foster Friess. He's the founder and former CEO of Friess Associates. He's an American businessman. He's a patriot. He loves his country, and I can't wait to continue to get his perspective as he joins us on our guest line and on Skype. Mr. Friess, it's great having you back on the Mike Gallagher Show. I like smart people's take at a time like this. It feels like the world is upside down. Are you surprised, Foster, at the way Americans are pushing back at some of these mayors and governors and directives on social distancing and wearing masks?
Well, first, Mike, I have to point out I don't like to be called Mr. Friess. I actually prefer something like Your Highness or Your Excellency.
Your
or
Majesty. That's
yeah,
right. I'm trying not to make eye contact. I got it. Okay, I got it.
Well, Foster works the best. But
You got it.
But it's really tragic to see how the whole concept of control has come into our society over the decades. I had a friend who is a golf nut, and he remembers pros say, "Hey, here's the cart. Stay away from the greens and the tees. Don't get too close." Now, the other day, he tells me he was driving his cart, and it beeps out and says, pull back, pull back. You're in a restricted zone," and he was in a gravel ditch. So even the golf pro is into this control thing, and I'm really sad to see how Governor Whitmer, for example, would say you can't put your motorboat on a lake, but if you have a canoe or if you have a sailboat, then you can do it. We've allowed the control factor to just go crazy, and there's something called the Cloward-Piven plan. Most of the young guys don't know because in 1966, these two socialists came up with the idea if you could overwhelm and bankrupt the welfare system, then people will want to be open to the whole idea of a guaranteed annual income. Sure enough, yesterday on TV, I saw someone talking about the possibility of a guaranteed annual income. So we have a huge struggle going back to the same time of George Washington when he crossed that river in the middle of a snowstorm. I think it was a smallpox epidemic as soldiers didn't have good shoes. We have to remember that. We have to remember that image and make sure we don't let all that thing that he fought for and so many died for escape from us, because we're in the process with all this money they're pumping in. Why are we spending $25 million to the Kennedy Center when we're supposed to be voting for ventilators? And I want to make sure all of your listeners, Mike, get behind this bill that was just introduced. It's called the One Bill, One Subject Transparency Act. Andy Biggs from Arizona introduced it in the House, 6635 it's called. And also you now have Ron Johnson, who's going to be introducing it with the number in the Senate. Basically what it says, you vote at one topic at a time. The last bill, 833 pages, it was finished to be written 20 minutes before they voted on it. So if we can make things more transparent, more open, and we as citizens can finally get engaged again. Right now we have the Kingdom of DC dictating all these movements to it and ideas and expenditures, and we basically have to get more engaged and participate.
I've been following this, and this is, of course, something you're behind, the Foster's Outriders effort. It's not partisan, it's not left or right, but the fact of the matter is we continue to see this intrusive government, involvement in our lives, and a lot of times they bury legislation in large bills that they don't, as you say, they don't even read. I mean, again, this is not just Democrats. Democrats and Republicans attach projects, their pet projects, or expansions into an unrelated bill. And like you said, that's how we wind up with millions for the Kennedy Center, and a bill that's aimed to help our healthcare system cope with COVID-19. So HR 6635, and again, let's make sure here, this increases accountability. It means you can't pass a bill, as Nancy Pelosi once say, to find out, later we'll find out what's in it. This is one at a time, and it's a very meticulous, transparent process, right, Foster?
Exactly. And I'm amazed at how many people have jumped on it instantly. 2 years ago in another Congress, Rand Paul and Mia Love launched it off, and it got 41 sponsors. But now it's going to work, and it's finally going to implement it because people are upset about all the money that's been thrown at this problem. And then these restaurant owners, they need customers, not
Yeah,
cash. There's not enough cash to keep them alive,
that's right.
especially if the communities keep their restaurant closed. It just isn't going to work, and the cure is going to be worse than the disease. They talk
Well,
about data, and they always talk about the health data, but they're not looking at the economic data. One important thing, Mike, on the health data, this is on 37,000 deaths at the Central for Disease Control release. They're way behind in the number of deaths because they take the death certificates that it takes a while
right.
for them to get there. So we've had almost twice, well over 37. But in those 37,000, it's very important to point out that of the people 35 and younger, only 1% of those were in that 37,000. And of the people 55 and older, 90% were in that death tally. So it's the older people that are at risk, and we should use those data to make sure we can maybe be a little bit open about the colleges and where young people congregate. It's the older people that are at risk. Just let's look at the data and harness it, and let's open up so we can give people their incomes and their jobs back.
I'm just glad you and I are not at risk. We're in that young people category. We don't have to worry about it. We can go on out. I mean, because youngsters like us, we're pretty good.
Well, I'm going hard, Mike. I just turned 80, and I've got 12
Wow.
siblings from my mom and dad, and a whole bunch of them made it to 100. So you got to put
Wow.
up hunting experience for quite a while here.
You're stuck. We're stuck with you for at least 20 more years. I
Oh,
just turned 60 last month, so I'm catching up. And we'll both be careful. We'll both be safe. And I can't wait to go get some pheasant with you again. Foster Freeze, we appreciate your leadership and your voice so very much, and I love your optimism and your patriotism. I hope everybody will contact their legislators, contact your representatives, your senators, and tell them you support HR 6635, and let's begin this process of transparency. Keep fighting the good fight, Foster. It's great to see you and have you on the radio show. We'll catch up
well,
again
Mike,
soon.
this quarantine thing, Mike's been terrible. My wife had tears streaking down her cheek, gazing through our living room window, and it was so sad. I finally let her in.
That was very big of you. I'm glad you let her in finally. Was it raining? Was it cold
Yeah,
outside?
yeah. God
I'm
bless you,
glad.
Mike.
God
You're a
bless, Foster.
wonderful contributor to the American scene, and so keep it
Thank
up. We admire you
Thank you,
so much.
Foster. God bless you. Thank you too, Foster. Great having you on the show. Thanks so much.